What's up guys, we got a tournament battle today and we're going to be going through the best $50 IEMs that came out this year as well as the previous years, so let's just get into it. Starting on the left side, we got the Truth Year Clinical Blue 02s versus the Truth Year Clinical 0 Reds. Now the main difference between these two is that the Blue 2s are going to be more dynamic, more aggressive, brighter, and especially a lot more bassier and just in your face in the overall sound profile. In terms of technical performance, the Bluetooth is also a lot sharper in the imaging, the separation slightly better. Overall detail in the treble feels more high fidelity than the Reds. The Reds is just a very inoffensive, balanced, smooth, safe, vanilla kind of sound. And you can find this type of sound for a lot cheaper. So because of those reasons, enjoyability and technical performance wise, I'm gonna go with the Bluetooths. Next, we got the Confined Clean versus the Dunu 10S2, and I'm just gonna go with the Clean here. It is the better value by far. Similar sound profile, bassy, warm, all-rounder. The Clean has better sub-bass extension. Overall, similar technical performance, but the Cleans are like 35 bucks on sale. S2 is around 55. Retail, obviously, S2 is closer to $80. So for that reason, sound, performance, I'm gonna go with the Clean. But if you do want the accessories, you could go for the S2s. They are still pretty nice for the price, so that is an option. But overall sound value, I'm gonna go with the Clean. Moving on, we got the Tantrum 4U versus the Moondrop Land 2, and I am just gonna go with the 4Us here because number one, you get a lot more variety for the price. Overall tuning to me is just better, more refined. And again, the Land 2 is pop and reference. If they combine those in one product, I think it would be a lot closer. But since they're not, it's a harder sell. So I'm just gonna go with the 4U. Still a very good value. Then lastly, we have the Tongzu Yuxuanji versus the Moondrop Mei. Personally, I like the Yuxuanji a lot more. The sound is more unique. It's airy. It's clean. It's good for vocals. And the design, the build is just a lot more, premium feeling for around the same price. Whereas the Mei, you do have the DSP option. But stock wise, it's just kind of like a slightly warm, balanced kind of sound. It's not as unique as the Yuxuanji. It's also a little bit more expensive. And the build is kind of not the best. So for those reasons, I would go with the Yuxuanji. As for the right side, first we got the Simga EW200 versus the Kanira Ignite X Beast. Now these two are actually fairly similar in the sound. They all have a upper mid slight pop in the vocals. The EW200s are going to be a little bit brighter, especially with the unit variants in the other units. The Ignite Beast is going to be cleaner in the overall sound. It pops out more in the imaging and the vocals, better for gaming. But overall, I think if we're going to go for sound, the EW200 is more balanced, all things considered. It just has more low end to kind of back up the extra energy. Whereas the Ignite X Beast, it's going to sound a little bit too shouty at times because it lacks the low end emphasis. And detail wise, I'm going to give a slight edge to the EW200 because of the better treble. Very close. Both of these are pretty solid depending on what you're looking for. Gaming, go for the X Beast. Sound wise, I like the EW200 just a little bit more. Next, we got the Kiwiers Kuniko Singolo versus the 7Hz Alua Ultra, and I'm just gonna go with the Alua Ultra here because it's basically what the Singolo was trying to go for with the sub-bass crossover tech that was more of a gimmick than an actual tech. So just get the Ultra, it has an extra DD, does the sub-bass texture better, the overall dynamics, treble extension also better, more detailed, and like 20 bucks cheaper. So much better pick here. After that, we got the RD T10s versus all the other planars at around $40 to $50, and I'm gonna go with the T10s here because it is the best tuned planars under $50. All the other ones from KZ, from SGOR, they're too bright. They're just too much sizzle, too much planar timbre, doesn't feel natural at all. Whereas the T10s are much more balanced, more I guess all-rounded and better tuned. Then lastly, we got the KZ Zenith versus the CCA Rhapsody slash the KZ Caster Pro bass and all the other similar KZ CCA tunings. I'm gonna go with the Zenith here because it's smoother, it has better layering, better technical performance, it's more natural in the overall sound, and to me, I like vocals, and the Zenith does the vocals better than the Rhapsody and the other bass stuff, which is more, sub-bass focus, and the mid-bass scoop does hurt the overall timbre a little bit. If you're looking for something fun, those are still pretty good when it comes to bass texture under $50. Still give those a shot, but overall, for a more balanced, natural sound, I'm gonna go with the Zenith. Moving on the left side of the quarterfinals, we have the Truth Year Clinical 0 Bluetooths versus the Confined Cleans, and these are pretty different when it comes to the overall sound. The Bluetooths obviously have the bass head and then the slightly bright version, whereas the Confined Clean, more all-rounded, slightly warm, bassy, dynamic, smooth. For most people, I'm going to say the clean is the better pick because it just works better for multiple genres. Whereas the Bluetooth is either you go bass head or you go slightly bright, which is a little bit sharp in the upper mids. So for most people, I'm going to say the clean is going to be slightly better, even though the Bluetooth might be better in the imaging. But for musicality, overall tuning, I'm gonna go with the clean. And moving down, we have the Tangent for You versus the Tongzu Yushuanji, and both of these are pretty enjoyable when it comes to the tuning. The For You, obviously more all-rounded. You have the different tuning switches, goes from clean to warmer, whereas the Yushuanji is more of a neutral, clean, airy, vocal-centric set. Now, for most people, I think the For Yous are going to be the better overall package. It's going to be slightly more technical, you get more variety, overall works better for multiple genres, more versatile in the overall sound, whereas the Yushuanji is more specialized. You know, it's got that airy, light, vocal-centric presentation, but it might not be for everyone. So because of that, I'm going to say the For You would be the better pick here. Now, moving on to the right side of the quarterfinals, we have the SIMGA EW200 versus the 7Hz Alua Ultra, and I'm going to go with the EW200 here because in terms of technical performance, the EW200 is noticeably more, I guess you can say, higher fidelity than the Alua Ultras. The treble comes across cleaner, the vocals are clearer, overall separation, detail, slightly better. But main, I guess you can say, issue is that there is some bright units with the EW200s, whereas the Alua Ultra is, I guess, safer in the overall sound. It's, you know, balanced but sub-bassy, but you got the treble extension. It's fun, it's all-rounded, just not as good technically and value-wise. So because of those reasons, I'm gonna go with the EW200s, even though the Alua Ultras might be the safer pick for most people. Then lastly, we have the RD T10s versus the KZ Zenith, and you guys might be surprised at what I'm gonna pick because I do believe the Zenith is overall more natural in the timbre and more musical than the T10s, even though the T10s are going to be slightly more technical, I guess better value for around the same price when it comes to performance. However, when it comes to musicality, balance, you know, how refined the treble is, how smooth and how good it scales, the Zenith is going to be overall better, like a higher tier than the T10s when it comes to timbre and just musicality, even though, again, T10 is very good for performance. But overall, you're here for the music, I would go with the Zenith. Now, switching over to the left side for the semifinals, we have the Confined Clean versus the Tangent for You, and I'm just gonna go with the For Yous here because it's overall a slightly better version of the Clean. You get more tuning options, slightly more detailed, still refined in the treble like the Clean. So overall package, I'm gonna say the For You for a little bit more is slightly better than the Clean. Now, as for the right side of the semifinals, we have the EW200s versus the KZ Zenith, and you guys might be surprised here because I'm gonna go with the KZ Zenith for the same reason as I did versus the T10s. It's more natural, the timbre is better, the overall smoothness is more refined in the treble, less bright, I guess less peaky, even though just like the T10s, the EW200s are going to be more technical, more detailed, the better performance bang for your buck IEM. But when it comes to music, you know, just enjoying the sound, enjoying an album and an artist, I think the Zenith is overall more natural and better tuned, slightly less in your face and bright than the EW200, and overall smoother and more refined in the treble. Then as for the grand finals, we have the Tangent for You versus the KZ Zenith, and this is a lot closer than you would expect because they're both pretty similar. The Zenith is a single DD, the For You has a single DD, both are very high quality DDs for the price. The main difference is that the Zenith is more vocal centric, it's not as mid-bass focused, whereas the For Yous with the switches is more all-rounded. It could be a little bit warmer than the Zenith. Their treble both are pretty smooth and timbre both are pretty good. So it just comes down to, do you want a better all-rounder or do you want something that is more vocal centric? Now personally, I lean more towards the Zenith for the vocals, but I think for most people the For You would be the better pick. It's better all-rounded. The tuning switches, there's a bigger difference when it comes to the amount of bass, whereas the Zenith is like 1 to 2 dBs. And then the build quality, the accessories are also better on the For You. Alright, sorry, my audio glitched out, but basically Tangent does have a better record when it comes to QC. They're most likely not going to ship you anything with like a fake driver, not working drivers, or like huge channel imbalances. So in terms of long-term quality control, longevity, I would give it over to Tangent. All things considered, if I could only recommend one IEM to someone, it would be the For Yous over the Zenith because of the better build quality, the better, you know, QC, a more all-rounded sound, more drastic differences when it comes to the switches, and overall the better pick long-term because of longevity as well. But that aside, I hope this video was helpful. Obviously, if you can find a better IEM for around the same price, go for that. For example, the EW300, EG280s, maybe you can find them for around 60 bucks, 58, but not consistent. And you know, obviously, I wouldn't say it is a $50 IEM. So just keep an eye out. The sales are still happening, and Christmas, Boxing Day is gonna come up soon, and a lot of stuff are gonna go on sale. So just wait for that. Aside from that, thanks for watching, and I will see everyone in the next one.
Shout out to Dom Q, Rox Cat, B Urac, Disco Scaldus, Walker Standard, Patrick, User, Contain Guava Juice Gains, Mr. Gorillas, Paulie J, Gis Sang Young, Christopher Jackson, Henry Claudia, Son of a Horse, 777ZK, Wizard, Obi, Treble Extended, Frickalicious, Ricardo, Tapasar, Choco Norris, Shrimp Bacalet, Tomat, FKSRG, Cousin Fat Fat, Julius Phillip, Dead Riddle, Bilha, Nico, Addy, Michael, Trackstar, LL Here, Shuri, Ryan, Raphael, I am J-Rack, Ori, June, Hakase, Torcog, Affinity, EGC, Rash, Chimika, Javier, CB952, Galbog, Senadan, Brian Carson, AK131, MN Gelato, Weiyu, Doichi, Mr. Combat, Robotic Sister, Vitor Kedge, Pornpoj, Varaya, Drewski, Edward, Alex, Kuna, Hussein, Brian, Robert, Polar, Marcos, The Surgeon, and some dude. Thank you guys so much for the support.